Hi there. My name is Andy Roman. I work here at Hippocrates Wellness as a psychotherapist. I've been here, I've completed my 31st year here, which is amazing to me. And I actually became a vegan in 1995 because by then I had been working here for a little while and I saw so many people get well that it was compelling for me to look at it and say, you know what? I want what they're having. And I was already a vegetarian. The last thing to go was some, this and that. But it was really, seeing people get healthy was really encouraging. In a way, I'd be a fool not to see the signs all around me here. And so I just did it. And you know what? It's been great. It is great. And it's getting easier and easier. I actually went vegetarian in 1969. So that's a long time ago. And I like to say God had to put me on a deserted island and confront me with my own health to make it happen. I was part of a college project where there were 8 of us, and we lived on this uninhabited island off of the coast of Florida. And the person who did our food shopping was a vegetarian, I mean. So we ran out of vegetarian stuff really early on. But in the meantime, while I was forced to be a vegetarian, some of my digestive issues just cleared up. And the first thing I did when I came back to civilization was I went and had a hot dog, and I got that same familiar stomach ache that I thought just came with eating. As dense as I might have been, it still sunk in that being a vegetarian is just better for me. And I was a vegetarian ever since then. And like I said, once I encountered the raw vegan lifestyle here at Hippocrates Wellness, it was just so compelling to see people get well. When I first came here, I thought I'll be polite, but I didn't think vegetables were going to make that big a difference in a person's health. But I was wrong about it. I saw people getting well from things that I thought people couldn't even get well from. And that was very, very compelling. So I'm convinced, and I love the lifestyle. I feel really, really healthy. I'm 71 years old. I feel great. I'm a proponent, but I'm a member of this club also. I've noticed a lot of changes in the quality of my physical well-being, my emotional well-being, and my mental well-being. I feel more clarity than ever before. And sometimes, I'm just going to say it out loud, I feel high. I actually get high. I've heard what being high is like from other people. And I get really an elevated sense of consciousness and perspective. It's not just my spiritual inclination, but I think it comes with the food, that when you're being plant-based, I get like the light wisdom of the sun. I mean, that sounds a little woo-woo, but I don't care what it sounds like because I get the benefits of that. It's just better. I sleep better. I have more energy. Like I said, better clarity of thought, more ease in meditating and going within. Instead, when I used to eat other things, even when I was eating gluten stuff, I would be way more tired and sluggish. And the more I clean up my diet, the more green and clean I go, the better the quality of my whole human experience. I've grown into veganism much more fully. In the beginning, it was all about not wanting to have that stomach ache that I thought just came with eating. I was on a quest to really find the best physical diet for myself. But since then, the ethics of it, the kindness to animals, the inclusiveness, I am an animal, I shouldn't be abusing or eating or harming or enslaving animals for my own pleasure and whatever. Besides the health aspect of really not needing to eat meat. And I don't even see it as eating meat. I see it as killing animals. And that's really just common sense reprehensible to me. I wouldn't hurt a dog or a cat. Why would I consider doing that to any other species? The more encounters I've had with different species, the more lovely they all are. Why would I want to do that? It's not fair, it's not right. So I've grown into the ethics of veganism big time. It's the right thing to do, it's right for the planet. Most religions have at their basis some kind of statement about do no harm. It's common sense, and it is really the right human thing to do. Well, in terms of, yes, it is everybody's personal choice, but let's face it, other people's choices influence me in my world. And if we are collectively messing up things in the planet, it isn't each his own. Everybody's got to do their part to make things better. And veganism is a huge proper step in the evolution of mankind on the planet. Even who was it? Albert Schweitzer or somebody said you can judge a culture by how they treat their animals. That might have been Gandhi or somebody. But whoever said it, it's really true. And I've been traveling and I've seen how people treat their stray dogs and whether there even are stray dogs in that society. And it is a measure of how conscious those people are. And so, your choices affect me and they affect the collective. And it's one at a time. We're going to reach critical mass and everybody's just going to get it. In the same way or similar way that people have understood that smoking is just not healthy. And suddenly it seemed like overnight there's no smoking allowed indoors. There's no smoking allowed in public places. So we made these leaps in awareness, and I think that's on the horizon for veganism. It is happening. It's a whole movement. I mean, I was alive when the word vegan was invented. So I've seen that evolution in itself. And vegan is now a very commonly used and understood term. You can see it in restaurants. I was in some little places, little towns in Australia, and they had vegan options in their menus. And Australia is not really known to be that vegan, or hasn't been known to be that vegan friendly. They're a big meat eating place. And even there, it's showing up. So it's the right thing. It's a movement. And we're all in this together. And everybody's individual joining of that is going to make a difference and is necessary. I think the most effective medium for me to convey the positives about veganism is my own lifestyle and my own health. When I used to work in the hospital as an ICU nurse, and I would bring my own food because, the hospital cafeteria didn't really have anything to eat. And people initially would make fun of me, oh, you're eating rabbit food. But they saw that I'm a pretty nice guy and I was never sick. I was never absent. Managers would point out, how is it, you need to take your days off, your sick days off. I know you're not sick, but you need to take your sick days or you're going to lose them. And so people just saw that it's a wholesome thing, it's a healthy thing, and that I wasn't some weirdo because I was vegan or vegetarian back then, that I was a normal, good person, and they eventually came around and said, what is that? What is that in your beard? Or whatever it was after a meal. And then I like being informed about veganism. I like letting people know the answers to some of the basic questions that people have. Like, where do you get your protein? That's a huge one. And it is such a huge myth that we need animal protein in order to build our own protein, when the exact opposite is true. It's a hindrance to use animal protein to build our own, because our body breaks it down into amino acids and then builds our own protein. Obviously, if you get the little amino acids from plants, you skip all that breaking down steps and then you just build your own. It's much more efficient, much more bioavailable. So information is really helpful. I don't have to have all the answers because I just don't. To even be a spokesperson for veganism, I don't have to have all the answers. I like having some good answers, but I don't have to be a total scientist and have the answer to every single question. What about B12? Blah, blah, blah. And I want to live a long, happy life. Who doesn't, really? And being plant-based, vegan specifically, is really a big part of the Blue Zone strategy. It just is. They've got their own little local herbs, their own tea, plus a lot of, human factors or societal factors of a social network of friends, to live in a place that values older people, right? If you're valued and you feel good about yourself, you're likely to live longer. I mean, that's just common sense. In the same way, here where I work at Hippocrates Wellness, it isn't just the diet that helps people get well from difficult diagnoses. It is the inner work that they do. It is their state of mind. These things go hand in hand. Veganism naturally makes people more open and generous and conscious and clear. And that helps when you want to work out your stuff, your baggage, to unload. To be clear helps. And then conversely, doing your inner work helps you make choices that are more in alignment with self-love. And what is more in alignment with self-love than just feeding yourself proper nutrition and in a way that's ethical, that fits into the big picture of, the eco world that we live in. So it all goes hand in hand. I like being informed. I like to share my passion. I think that's a compelling factor also. When I'm really into it, not in a moralistic way, like, you stupid idiot, why don't you, how dare you be where you are? No, that approach never works. People will get defensive and defend their right, blah, blah, blah. But really, just to be an example. I'm like an older guy. People will wonder how I'm so healthy. And they do. They'll ask me that out loud. Wow, you don't look 71 or whatever. And then they'll wonder, what do you do? What are your secrets? And it's not a secret. I'm happy to share that. And it has become a really important part of my life and my lifestyle. I went on a trip once to the islands off of the coast of Norway. And I asked around before I went, how can I be vegan while I'm on this vacation of mine? And somebody said, you know what, they don't even have trees on that island. How do you expect to find vegetables? And I said, okay, I'd rather be hungry and stay vegan than not be vegan. And sure enough, I was in some little fishing village. They had just caught this fresh catch Norwegian from the clean waters and blah, blah, blah. And I said no to the host, insulted the host. My then wife thought I was crazy for not eating. But I was like, nope, I'd rather be hungry than not be vegan. And I'm really proud of myself. Don't get me wrong, I don't like being hungry when I'm on vacation, but I'm glad I made that choice. And I ended up, eating carrots out of the grocery store. And, I stayed vegan. It wasn't raw. It wasn't the healthiest. But I had like dark bread and carrots and, it wasn't the greatest diet. But it was still good. And I ate a lot of snow. Okay, I admit it. I ate a lot of snow on that vacation. Well, yeah, definitely challenges come along with making a choice, or they did, especially earlier on, where, to be the odd person out isn't pleasant. We're social creatures. We like to fit in. People eat food as a way to celebrate together, and if I'm not eating the same food as the people that I'm with, they feel weird about it. I'll feel weird about it. And so in the beginning, even at family gatherings, I was uncomfortable about eating different. I actually had, this is a little Jewish mother story, but my mother was very sad. She said, oh, now that you're vegan, you don't eat the food that I make. And I wasn't happy about that. And it took me a year to figure it out. And I finally came back with what I think is a brilliant response. I said, Mom, I will eat the food you make if you make the food I eat. And the light bulb went on. And she became this gourmet vegan chef for me. And then we lived happily after that. And in the same way, it was like going out to eat to restaurants. But people were more considerate. My in-laws would pick places that had vegan options just because they loved me and were considerate. And if we ended up going to a place that had no vegan options, I would eat before I would go out because I was going for the company. You know, I don't really, that's not my preference to go to a restaurant and not eat. But I did what I had to do. I got my priorities straight. I choose to be healthy. I choose to be ethical in my life. And so the rest of it, I just worked it out. And I stopped hanging out with the people that couldn't handle that sort of difference. And the people who loved me and respected me, they adjusted and I adjusted. And also another thing is when I prepared really healthy, tasty, yummy vegan food and shared it with my non-vegan friends, they would say, wow, I could do this. I didn't have to preach or do anything. Just yummy. Yummy is a good approach to take as a vegan. And, you know, yummy doesn't have to mean unhealthy because there's a lot of unhealthy veganism out there. There's vegan junk food and sugar is sugar. You know, sugar is sugar and it's not healthy. But there is such a thing as healthy, yummy vegan. And that's my choice. And that's the thing that I feel the passion for. And it's easy to turn people on to that because who doesn't want yummy? And really, who doesn't want healthy? If there's a vegan, healthy option for something that's known to, you know, not be so healthy in the non-vegan world, people will consider it. And, you know, there is some urgency to it. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate the militant vegans. I do. I secretly am a militant vegan. But I'm just more quiet about it. I will share my passion, even if I risk making somebody feel bad for still killing animals for their own taste buds. I'll go there. I don't mind going there. I'm just not a total jerk about it. I'm a mild jerk about it. But I'm like your big brother who just wants the best for you and will also confront you about what you're making mistakes. You need to up your game some. Do the right thing for yourself and for the planet. I tell you, it's really rewarding to feel good at many levels at the same time. I feel good physically, energetically. I feel good ethically. I feel good socially minded, that I'm really contributing to the way that we need to go to sustain life on the planet. All of that it's just rewarding at every level. There's no downside to being a vegan. No downside. And it's getting so much easier to travel as a vegan. I was in Barcelona, Spain, and I looked up and I found this vegan place in the medieval part of Barcelona. It was awesome. So I like it when I feel like the universe is taking care of me and feeding me. And there's vegan places happening all over the place. It's easy. Well, you know, I raised my daughter to be vegetarian. And so when her little friends, when she was little, like 3 years old, they would say, "Are you Jewish or are you Christian?" And she'd say, "I'm vegetarian." She had a sense of it as a little kid and would say, you know, animals are my friends. I don't eat my friends. And I think that made some things easier for her, but she was also very curious about sugar because, you know, I was a food Nazi when she was very young, and then I gave up, and she strayed into unhealthy eating as a vegetarian, and then ended up marrying a meat eater and became a meat eater as an adult, which was really odd. But she got sick and then went vegan, and now she's a raw vegan. and has reclaimed her health. So yes, it maybe being raised vegan or vegetarian made it a little easier. At least she had something to go back to. But really, she had her own journey with the whole thing. Yeah, I don't have any regrets about my upbringing. It led me to the right thing because I also got sick. So I would like to spare people that step. Raise your kids vegan so that they don't have all these allergies and get sick, and know what it's like without having to suffer wrong living. Why not? Maybe my life would have been really different. But I don't have any regrets. In some ways, I wish I had taken the step from vegetarian to vegan earlier, because I was exposed to veganism for a few years intensely before I took the step or the leap into it. And I wish I'd been more open and just experimented on my own self to see if it was for me. But I was stubborn about it. I liked my whatever it was. I don't even want to say it out loud. And so I didn't let go of it. But they used to do live blood analysis here at Hippocrates Wellness. The owner of the place was doing my live blood analysis, and she said, "Are you still eating so and so?" And I said, "Man, it shows up in my blood?" Then I knew it. There's no hiding out. There's no fudging it. And so then shortly thereafter, I took the leap. In the bigger picture, I don't really have regrets because it's all led up to this moment. But I wish I had been a little bit more open. Yeah. I think I was addicted and I was attached to my food habits. It was resistance to change, even though I knew it was the right thing. I knew it long before I did it. I think it's a pridefulness and arrogance, a stubbornness and unwillingness to change. That's why I didn't do it sooner. And that's a humbling thing. Thank God I didn't have to get sick to make the leap. I see that here at Hippocrates, where people they only choose veganism sometimes because they're out of options. They have to. They got some illness, and they have to undo the damage by living a really healthy, clean, no wiggle room lifestyle. And so I don't want to be that arrogant or that stubborn or that ignorant. I know better. So watch out. Do the right thing for the right reasons before you have to. Well, when I was in college, actually my very, very first girlfriend in college was a vegetarian. And she was so lovely, but I thought she was a little airy-fairy, ditzy, going along with the trend or something. But the more I spent time with her, I saw that it really influenced how she was and really how she was in the world as a moral person, and my respect for her grew. It didn't even occur to me to be vegetarian or vegan until I met this woman and had started a relationship with her, and she was vegetarian, and so that's how I got exposed to it. And she was just really a sweethearted woman and person, and so her life choices influenced mine. And then, of course, I told you I was on this island, and she was the one who did our food shopping and didn't buy any animal stuff for us to eat. No meat, beef jerky or whatever it was. So we were stuck on this island with, vegetarian things. Now, I never actively resisted it because it just didn't even occur to me that being a vegetarian or being vegan was something, that it was an option. I ate what I ate. I ate what I grew up eating. I didn't know that I could change anything until I met somebody who ate a different diet, who was vegetarian. And then I considered it because she was cool and was healthy. It was one of those things. I'll have what she's having. I want whatever she's doing, and it's so healthy and beautiful. I want that for myself. And she also told me her reasons for being a vegetarian, and I started understanding that and grew into it. So it never occurred to me to not do it, but until I was exposed to it, it never occurred to me to do it either. I didn't have a repulsion for it from the onset or anything. I've heard some people, oh, I could never do that. I love eating meat and I would never go vegan, because they experience that as giving stuff up. You know, I would be depriving myself. I see that here with the guests at Hippocrates all the time, and they go through a deprivation phase. They think about and focus on all the things they can no longer have. And there's a turning point where people start feeling better, getting healthy, their lab numbers get better, their tumors shrink, whatever it is. And suddenly their mindset changes. They're not depriving themselves. They're actually doing something good for themselves, and they realize it. Once that mindset change happens, the choice to be vegan is much, much easier and smoother. No, not anymore. Even, B12. I take a supplement every day. B12 it's from a bacteria that's found in the soil. And so, I'm not going to eat soil or, in fact, that's where the cows pick it up from, and it's in their body, and then when people eat them, they're actually getting it from the soil. It's not because it's inherent to meat or something. So I supplement that, and everything else. I get an annual physical. I get my blood work done. I get checkups. My doctor, who is not that holistic or somewhat holistic, but marvels at how well I'm doing and how, I don't take any meds, and, I'm in really good health. So I don't worry about nutrition. I just eat a varied diet. I do as much raw as I can because that's where the nutrition is. And that's just serving me really well. I wouldn't say I do anything to compensate for being vegan, because being vegan totally enhances my life. And so there's nothing to compensate for. That's a question asked from somebody who thinks vegans are depriving themselves of something. And it's just not accurate. It's not the framework that reflects reality. There's nothing to compensate for. Veganism enhances every aspect. There are guests who come here for infertility reasons, and they end up conceiving. People, I've seen a lot of diseases reversed from people going vegan. It's just the right thing to do. It's super nutrition if you do it cleverly and stick with a lot of raw, sprouted, living food stuff. It's the healthiest. There's nothing to compensate for. It's not uncommon for me to start with a little fruit in the morning. I like a little fruit, not too much. I stick with the less sweet fruits. I'll stick with the blueberries, the grapefruit, that kind of stuff. I'll do lemon water. I'll take my homeopathic things under my tongue before I eat. And then I'll wait a while, and then I'll juice before I come to work. I know they do green drink and juice here at work, but I do it at home. Then I'll have like a raw food, vegan, living food lunch here at work. And then when I go home, I will have some cooked things. I'll cook some grains. I'll have some kind of a veggie burger on a gluten-free cracker. I dehydrate my own crackers. I'll soak and dehydrate nuts. There's a few vegan restaurants in the area, and I'll go there with my friends and celebrate. But I like preparing food. There's a lot of vegan potluck groups around here. I'll have a vegan movie night at my house and invite a bunch of people over, and everybody brings a dish. It's a growing movement. It's yummy. Yummy is really important. And to share food is what we humans do. We like to eat and celebrate together. And to have it be healthy on top of all that, that's the best. And there's more and more people doing it. It's easy. It's easy to do. It's easy to have a vegan lifestyle. Even traveling is getting easier and easier. Well, I tell you, a really good way to get started with veganism is to get a vegan buddy and follow somebody, listen to somebody, and learn from somebody that's already been doing it. Pick somebody that you respect, that you recognize that their lifestyle has got something in it that you like. You like how healthy they are or whatever it is. And then be curious around them. Ask them, get recipes. Educate yourself. There's so many YouTube videos like this one, for instance. You educate yourself. Then there's different people that offer classes. If you want to learn more about the culinary part of it, that's totally available. There's people do workshops. And I recommend do all that. Get some counsel. If you feel like you're depriving yourself, you may need a little counseling to help you through that phase until it really clicks that you're doing something really good and healthy for yourself. And it's not a matter of depriving yourself. Another good way to bypass the deprivation phase is to do some of the less healthy vegan meat substitute and cheese substitute things, because there's so many of them now that are frankly really tasty. You want vegan blue cheese? It's available. You want vegan camembert or whatever? It's available. You want vegan milk? There's nut milks that I never even heard of. Who would have thought you can make milk out of pea protein or whatever they're doing it out of? Educate yourself about sugar substitutes. Get into natural sweeteners like stevia. And then practice. Practice, practice. Whatever you practice, you're going to get better at. So educate yourself, practice, hang around some of the veterans that have been doing it for a while. I would tell you, whatever you want to learn, I would give you that counsel. Whatever it is. You want to learn ping pong? Hang out with the people that have been doing it for a long time. Hang out with the people that are willing to teach you and to show you and to share with you. Go to ping pong conventions. That's a metaphor. There's so many vegan things going on in the world. It's easy. Watch that documentary, The Game Changers. That's a game changer in the vegan world. With such good information and such inspiration, with such big figures like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jackie Chan. I admire their physical skills. And to hear Arnold Schwarzenegger say he wishes he had done it long ago, that's really heartening. He's not saying, yeah, I needed to eat meat to get where I was then, and now I'm doing this because I'm older. No, he said he wished he'd done it a long time ago. The captain of the American Olympic weightlifting team is a vegan, and he's continually breaking his own world records. I mean, that's compelling. That's seriously compelling. So I would want to hang out with him, see what he does, learn from him. People say, oh, I can't have big muscles if I'm a vegan. It's just, all those myths about animal protein are just myths. They're just not true. Meetup.com. Find vegan potluck groups. There's about 3 in this area. Before COVID anyway, there was always some group to get together with. Actually, just the other week, just last week, there was a vegan potluck in the park somewhere. And it's a good group of people. I've participated with them in other things. There's nothing like direct people support as a great resource to help you get on track and stay on track. Then be a resource person. Once you're on track, offer your services. Help the new people. It works in AA. That's why people are AA sponsors, because they know that by helping the newbies, they're really helping themselves stay on track. The same thing is true for anything, and for being a vegan, it's the same. Put yourself out there. Host a meetup group. There's all kinds of websites and newsletter subscriptions. Well, of course, I want to mention Hippocrates Wellness. I've been here for 31 years. This is an incredible resource. You want to find out about healthy living and a healthy lifestyle, a healthy vegan lifestyle, definitely watch all the YouTube videos that are about this place. Definitely, great resource. Just browse through the store, the Hippocrates store. See what the supplements are that they recommend, because they recommend the best. I trust this place as an authority. I've gone to the bosses here with my own health challenges and the health challenges of some friends of mine, and they've given excellent counsel on supplements and diet changes. And there are other institutes. And if they're vegan, I recommend them. I think this is the best, but I do recommend them. There's the Optimal Health Institute, and that's in Texas and in San Diego, California. I've visited that place. That was awesome. There used to be the Tree of Life place in Arizona. There's True North. That's a place our former medical director, when he left this place, went to go work with them. And he's a great resource. Chris Carr is a great resource. She's probably chriscarr.com. She healed herself and keeps herself healthy from a cancer diagnosis and shares her personal journey of healing. And she's a wonderful resource for many people. If you get a chance to look her up when she was on the Oprah show, when Oprah had a show, she was just so eloquent and so humble and so inspiring. So these are, connect with people that have been doing it. They'll be your inspiration. I think people that I've known that have quit veganism have done so because they were lazy and they didn't want to make effort to keep themselves healthy, and that they were somehow in their mind fudging a reality that they really knew to be true. They just didn't want to see it anymore, that there's certain things that we shouldn't do to stay healthy, and there's certain things that we should do to get healthy and stay healthy. They just didn't want to do it. They didn't want to, okay, I'm just going to say it sounds judgmental, but they didn't want to be responsible for their own health anymore because they stopped doing what they knew works. And so who does that? Why does somebody do something like that? It's self-sabotage. It's wanting to go backwards. These are not healthy things. Once you know, it takes a certain kind of weird effort to unknow or to undo what you know. So I don't recommend going backwards at all. If you're facing some kind of, desire to go backwards, get counseling. Talk to your vegan friends. Not because they'll moralize you back on track, but because they'll help you remember what you once really knew. And let's face it, sometimes the responsibility for things is heavy. I don't want to be responsible for the suffering of all the animals. And so I'm just going to pretend that my lifestyle, my personal choices don't matter. And I'm telling you, that's bullshit. That's not accurate. My personal choices matter to the big picture of what's happening on the planet. So to go backwards, as if my choices don't matter, that's a lie. It's not true. Face it, feel it, work through it. Stay on a good track for your sake and for the sake of animals and for the sake of the planet. We have to do the right thing, and each person's effort makes a difference. People have an emotional relationship with food. Everybody does. And so therefore, when we are embarking on any kind of changes, even though we know that it's good for us, we have to deal with the emotional component of our attachment to what we knew and what we loved. A big part of what I do here at Hippocrates is to counsel people on making changes that are healthy for them. And it really punctuates that we're not logical beings, we're psychological beings. That even doing things that are healthy for us, we wrestle with it, we fight it, we resist it, because we don't like change. A big part of what I see as I'm watching people transition from unhealthy to healthy, is the mindset involved, and how do people embrace change? Weirdly enough, we humans don't really like change that much. We get our routines, we get what we're used to, and we don't want to change it. We can have all kinds of reports about the dangers of climate change and blah, 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 but we don't, okay, by 2050, we're going to convert to electric this and that. And we don't even look at where we're getting the electricity or where we're making the batteries from, because we don't like change that much. We're not going to say, you know what, we need to do this now. Let's collectively just make the leap into the right thing. And we're just not there as humans. It seems like our evolution is slow. That's why I said earlier, I have a soft spot in my heart for the militant vegans, because they recognize we need some kind of revolution, not just evolution. Our mindset is really central to how we approach everything in our life. We need to know that it's doable. We need to know that we won't be too uncomfortable. And so these are the things, once we address those levels of it, more people will be inclined to make the leap into veganism. The one thing that I saw in that movie, The Game Changers, spoiler alert, that I think was more conducive to people going vegan than anything else in that movie was when they had those 3 young men who agreed to have their erections, their nighttime erections, measured by some device that they wore overnight, and then compared their erections after eating non-vegan meals to their erections that happened the nights after they ate vegan meals. The fact that their erections were longer, lasted longer, and were harder by 200%. I imagine this wave of veganism after that came out, because we're inspired by anything that makes us get more of what we want out of life. It wasn't just the men that went for that. I'm sure the vegan women were after their husbands or their partners to be, or their friends to go vegan. You want a heartier sex life. So that's part of the mindset, that veganism actually improves the quality of your life. That's a whole new understanding. People very often approach veganism with a deprivation mindset. Oh, I can't have this anymore, I can't have that. And then people don't stick to things that involve deprivation. As a species, we just don't do deprivation that well. We don't like it. And so that mindset has got to be updated into one that reflects reality more, that veganism improves the quality at every single level of everything about being a human on the planet. Mindset. Also, we have to deal with the social factors. If being a vegan will somehow separate you from your people, you're going to be shunned by the people that love you or you love, we're going to be less likely to take that step. So the mindset of being included, being part of a tribe, that needs to be addressed. The good news is the vegan tribe is growing big time. It's easily accessible. You find your tribe, and then the people that you thought were your tribe, you give them an opportunity to come around. And you won't feel so bad about leaving that tribe to come to another. It's like coming home. You find your place, you find your people, and then everybody else is just somebody who hasn't made the step yet. They're not the evil or the villain. They just haven't realized it yet. Also, there's some people that I see, they go vegan and then they become preachers and proselytizers, and that hardly ever really works. People feel put off. If you look down on them for where they are at, if you preach to them about where you're at, the outcome is just separation and not good vibes. It's not effective, to put it bottom line. What's more effective is to do it and to enjoy it. I like to say people respond more to an invitation to a party than they do a prescription. What you need to do, that's like a prescription. Nobody likes the finger pointed at them, even if it's accurate. But an invitation to a party, if I'm having a good time, if Being vegan is really improving the quality of my life, and I'm inviting you to improve the quality of your own life, you're much more likely to respond to that than if I moralize at you, preach at you, or reject you or judge you. So it's just practical. So that's another mindset, to be, to enjoy myself and then invite people to come and enjoy what I'm enjoying. I want to share the goods, not I want to show you how wrong you are for doing what you're doing. Even if it's true, even if you are wrong for making bad, unhealthy choices, it's just more effective, it's more kind, it's more gentle, and again, it's just more effective to invite somebody to something good than it is to punish them or reject them for doing something that's not so good. Veganism, as a step in the direction towards health, makes all other healthy choices easier. If you're dealing with addictive stuff, you're more likely to let go of it if you have a healthy platform upon which to move to. If you recognize that your addiction is not in the healthy platform, it's much easier to let go of it and start when you're enjoying the benefits of this healthy choice. Have I seen mental health issues clear up simply by going vegan? I think that might be a little bit of a stretch. Except I've seen people's mindset change, and once people get on the course that I would call a course of self-love, most mental health issues are based on a deficit of self-love. So if you start doing something that you're doing to nurture yourself and to feel good, you're more likely to gain the self-love that you need to get healthy in all the other areas of your life. I'm not saying you won't need therapy or something. If you go vegan and all your problems will go away, that's a stretch. But I think being vegan really helps because it is such a healthy, nurturing thing to do. You are more likely to bring that attitude of self-nurturing and self-love into other areas of your life. You're going to be more gentle with yourself. You start being gentle with the animal kingdom, you're going to be more gentle with yourself. You won't want to hurt yourself or do anything unhealthy. It really does go hand in hand. Actually, an example comes to mind right away. There was a guest here who had a history of a serious alcohol addiction, and she had been to rehab many times, and she finally found veganism as a path towards her own sobriety. And she decided to open up a rehab specifically for women, where a big part of the approach was to introduce healthy lifestyle and veganism to the people that went to that rehab. And what she found was that her place was so much more effective. Her program had a much higher success rate, a much lower recidivism rate than other places, a higher loyalty factor, because the women in that group really bonded well, and they felt more empowered by not only give up alcohol, but I actually can embrace a lifestyle where I'm doing something good for myself. And that went hand in hand with their sobriety, big time. So she ended up being so successful with her rehab, and she was good at it because she had experience with it, and then she combined her rehab experience with what she learned here at this institute and just put them together and made a very, very effective program. The greatest error of our era is that doctors have taken the soul out of medicine. You know who said that? Hippocrates, 640 BC, the original doctor. We say the doctors say the Hippocratic Oath. How that applies to veganism is that veganism has so much soul to it. It's not just, don't eat certain things and only eat certain things, but there is a morality to it, that there's a soul factor to it, that the more we can add and return to the soul factor, the more likely we are to make good choices and to be healthy and not make that error where medicine, you can ask doctors and they'll say, nah, you're sick and what you eat has nothing to do with your health. That's just an error. It's just a huge error. I used to work as a nurse in the ICU, and I was pulled over to the unit where they take care of people after their bypass surgery. This was in Atlanta, Georgia. And I took care of this man, and at first he was, nothing by mouth. Then they gave him water, then they gave him broth, then they gave him Jello. And his first solid food was bacon and eggs, grits and gravy, biscuits and butter. And I went to the dietitian and I said, these things are pretty much known to clog the arteries that this hospital just unclogged. What about that? They're just ignorant about food. Ignorant, not evil necessarily, but just ignorant. They've taken us out of the food chain, and when we really look at the food chain, we'll see that a lot of animals suffer and unnecessary. We don't need that for our nutrition. I'm saying we need to bring the soul factor back in to see the bigger picture of what's involved in what we eat and what makes us healthy and what keeps us from being healthy. Vegan is our destiny. It's inevitable once we look into it. So I like that quote. If you ask me if I ever need to eat animal secretions again, the way you ask that makes the answer really easy. No, I never have to eat anything, any animal, anything at all. I don't even want to use animal products. Animal products, it just, even that sounds repulsive to me and mean-spirited. When I buy a car, I don't get leather seats. Sure, leather is great because it's animal skin that serves animals to weather all kinds of weather. But am I going to take that from the animal just so that my car will... No, I don't want to do that. Unnecessary. If anything, I'm growing more and more vegan as I go along. And actually, honestly, I think this is a silk tie. But you know what? I don't buy any new silk ties because I know it's a silk worm. Who cares about worms? But I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not doing anything that hurts animals. Why? Because I don't have to. It's not necessary. Why introduce harmful things into the world when it's not necessary? I buy cotton ties. There you go, period. And I am admitting, this is a silk tie. I'm not going to throw it away, but I'm not going to buy new ones. I think the world is headed towards veganism. I think we just need to keep being a good example and showing the benefits of it. There's some non-GOs, non-governmental organizations. There's one called the Wallenberg, working with the United Nations to introduce the benefits of veganism at that political world arena. And they're having some success. It's happening. More people are interested in solving world hunger and poverty and this and that. And veganism plays a huge role in that. The kind of wastefulness and resource black hole swallowing of resources that it takes to raise animals in farm factories it's horrendous. Just the amount of poop that they produce and the methane, it's just an all-around unhealthy thing. And so as conscious people are looking to solve the world's problem, veganism is inevitable because we're built for it, we're made for it. It's agriculturally viable, economically viable, ecologically really viable, morally the right thing to do. I think it's inevitable. And my plan is to do my part. I'm doing my part by sharing my passion with you right now. This is my shameless plug of my book. It's called Deep Feeling, Deep Healing, The Heart, Mind, and Soul of Getting Well. There's a chapter in here where I talk about the role of an enzyme-rich vegan diet in the overall health picture, and even more specifically in the mental health picture. It's available on Amazon. It's available at the Hippocrates store. It is all one system. That's really the bottom line. You can't separate these things out. The mind, the body, how we choose to live our lifestyle, and the health of ourselves and the planet. It's all one system, and we need to be more mindful and careful and informed about what we do. So I do recommend my book. There are two kinds of people that come to Hippocrates in two basic categories. They're either frightened or they're enlightened. The frightened people come here because they've been given a difficult medical diagnosis, and the medical world said, that's it, we don't know what else to do. Or they're faced with the medical options that they themselves don't want to do. So that's the frightened category. Then there's the enlightened people who've started hearing about living a healthy lifestyle with alternative or complementary medical approaches to things that focus on nutrition and supplements and exercise. So those are the people who come here, and we don't really play that strongly on the moral role of veganism, but people come to that quite naturally once they start living the lifestyle or doing it. It's inevitable. To watch some kind of movies like, did you see that movie Earthling? I couldn't even watch the end of it. It was so horrific. Slaughtering the dolphins or whatever they were doing. It was just, man. And so people who come here are on a quest to either reclaim or improve their health. And once you're a seeker like that, veganism is inevitable. You're going to stumble on it. You're going to discover it. Because it is such a viable plan that works. You will get the outcome you want. Give it a try. You got to stick with it. You got to do it. The thing that I like about this program is the education factor. There's a lot of classes here. I've been to visit some other vegan institutes, and this one has way more education involved. And plus, Brian and Anna Maria are just geniuses and resources like no other. You can ask any question. Once you get involved in this community, you can ask any question you ever wanted to know about health, and they've got some really good practical answers that are well researched and documented. It's a great place to work, by the way. It's a great community to be in. On one hand, it's a very transient community because people come and go every week. But there is a thread of continuity throughout all of the changing guests that come here, and that is the quest for health. And ultimately, even the quest for health is part of the quest for happiness. We do a program here called the Peace Education Program, which involves finding inner resources as a human, like clarity, understanding, self-awareness, strength. These are things that we need to muster up and discover within ourselves. That's a big part of the health picture. So I love this place. We really deal with and nurture the whole person. And that includes the shadow too. All these resistances to doing things that are healthy, that's so not logical. But we help you face that kind of stuff. That's why we provide psychological and emotional support services here. Our lives don't happen in a vacuum. We don't make lifestyle changes in a vacuum. Those things happen in the context of our humanity. And so I like how we deal with the whole person here. It's just proper, very proper. Well, people come here for 1 week all the way up to months at a time. And there's different programs here. There's a fitness program, there's a life transformation program, there's a new program that they're calling it mindfulness. And this has more to do with people that want to change and work with their inner landscape, because there is a growing recognition here that it's not just what you eat, it's getting to what's eating you that makes a big difference in your health, in the success of your health quest. So people live this lifestyle. It's a total immersion. You're 100% raw, living food vegan while you're here. You'll learn recipes, you go to classes, you get psychotherapy time. We have a healing circle, which is a group psychotherapy support meeting. There's a lot of fitness exercise for everybody. You know, sound mind and a sound body. You learn about natural products so that you'll be able to make wiser choices about the bed you sleep in, the clothes you wear. You know, it all fits in. This is a great educational facility. It's wonderful. It's like a combination between a college campus, a rehab, and a green juice saloon. There's a lot of fun here. There's a recognition. There's the wheatgrass band, and there's a big dance for everybody. We've had Native American ceremonies. We've just, it's all about celebrating and coming alive and learning the skills that are involved as a person in relationship, how to make healthy choices, to really learn in a very definitive way what's healthy and what's not, so that you can say yes to the right things and say no to the wrong things. Because as simple as that sounds, there's some work involved, there's some education involved. This place is really high on the education quotient in terms of other places. There's yoga, there's a whole range of exercise, there's a whole range of classes. With this new mindfulness program, it is more, people just want to come and enrich themselves. It's a great place.